Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live How We Felt About. I'm Captain Logan. There's Connor Nielsen.
Hey, everybody.
Today, Connor and I are going to tell you how we felt about the first couple episodes of Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This started last week, and we would have done a... Yeah, you can't really flip those. Every time I flip your sign, Connor, it's like pick a coaster.
I should tape them like this, and I get a straw or something, and that way I can...
Then it
It'd
would
very
be a
top heavy,
sign.
but
Yeah. You'd need a real thick straw, or maybe just like a tiny dowel rod or something.
Yes, yeah, that's good. That's good.
That'd be the way to go. Actually, just the thing I have on this would do it. But anyway, nobody came here to hear us talk about feeling at signs. We would have done a video on just the pilot last week. I say pilot. These things aren't ordered for pilots and then they get shows. They just make the things. We would have talked about the first episode last week, but we were hip deep in the middle of Snyderville, and we were too busy doing videos on the Snyder Cut. So we waited, and Connor, I'm really, really glad that we did that. This would have been, I think, a quite different video had we only talked about the first episode. And we'll talk about why that is, of course. One of the big things I want to talk about is why we start at the place that we start at with this series. I guess I'm getting ahead of myself, but the way in which I think the second episode feels like a second first episode in a lot of ways. So that's one of the things that I really want to chat about. But anyway, we're just going to go ahead and get right into it. Falcon and Winter Soldier, of course, a 6-episode miniseries. By the way, welcome everybody live. Thanks a bunch for joining us. Thanks for watching after the fact if you're doing that. We'll let you guys help us direct conversation a little bit, some later on. We'll probably get into some spoiler stuff after we've done our basic kind of non-spoiler how we felt about stuff. So we'll break this into a couple sections like we usually do. So if you ask about specific spoiler stuff in Super Chats or otherwise, we won't deal with that until a little bit later. So we may not be covering Super Chats for the first 20 minutes to half an hour. Think of this almost like two different videos. But if you want to make sure that we talk about something having to do with the show, you can leave a Super Chat in any dollar amount, and we will guarantee that we talk about it. And otherwise, we may hit some pre-written stuff as well as we go along. So anyway, I like that Disney Plus, Connor, is not stuck to an episode count like Netflix was with their Marvel stuff initially. They got away from it a little bit too with Defenders, but even as short as that was, it still should have been shorter. This show is 6. WandaVision was 9. WandaVision jumped all over the place with its length of their episodes, which was smart, I thought. They let an episode just be as long as they thought it had to be to tell the story, regardless of how long you and I think some of those episodes maybe should have been. This is a horse of a different color, totally different animal. The first 2 episodes are both 50 minutes long, and I don't know if they'll all be the exact same length, but it feels real rigid so far. These are 50-minute episodes, and it's much more of kind of a standard, dramatic TV kind of structure, just like you would expect. With this, this is our heroes, Winter Soldier and Falcon, initially separate and dealing with life stuff after the blip. We are really getting into what life is like in this new status quo, which is a thing that I've been really hoping for and didn't think that the movies would handle, and it seems like Disney Plus is really, really important for that. I'm really glad we're doing that. We did a little bit of that in WandaVision, and I appreciated that, but now it's very much about the political atmosphere and the difference in what it's got to be like to live in that world than it is now. Connor, I'm stoked about that because we finally have this very different, still more or less realistic, it's kind of the world we live in kind of world, except we have not dealt with half of our population disappearing and then reappearing, and they have, and we're going to be able to use that as a metaphor for all kinds of real life things, and this universe has not really had a lot of that, so that's really exciting to me. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Connor, how did you feel about the first couple episodes out of just 6? We'll be back here in a month to do a spoiler cast on Falcon and Winter Soldier. Go ahead.
Well, I'm very happy that we are doing the first 2 episodes, because when I came to watching these, I actually did not watch the first episode last week, and in all of the days in between the first episode dropping and the second episode dropping, I just couldn't watch it at all. It's something that me and my roommates do, and so it happened that on Friday when the 2 of them dropped, when the second one dropped, we just watched the 2 of them back to back.
Oh, okay, cool.
So I'm really happy we're talking about the two of them because I feel like I'm sort of, compared to where we were at WandaVision, I feel like I'm almost at the complete inverse spot where I almost had like nothing good to say about the first episode. Not that it's bad. I don't think it's like terrible, but I don't feel much of anything. And I was really surprised by how bored I was. And I don't think the second episode is much better, but there are things about it that I'm starting to kind of pick up on where I think like, I think if this picks up, there are definitely areas where I can see it picking up. But I kind of wish I had a chance to watch these episodes again because I'm kind of straining to remember them, to be perfectly honest. So I could say something where I have like my foot in my mouth and I forgot something, so I apologize. But I think that that the best thing here, though, is Wyatt Russell as Walker, aka the new Captain America.
Yeah.
Wyatt Russell is an actor I've been hoping to see get something big for a little bit now. He was in a film called Everybody Wants Some in 2016, which he was really, really good in. He was in that movie with Tyler Hoechlin, who's the new Superman, actually, in Superman and Lois. He was in that movie Overlord a few years back, which was really good. And so he's here, and I think he is easily the standout as far as the cast is concerned. He is charming. He is charismatic, but I also think there's like some depth to that character that, as far as filling in shoes, being kind of a squeaky clean new presence on the superhero block. I really like that. And I also like his sidekick. He has his own sidekick as well. I like their dynamic. I think, honestly, though, the worst thing then becomes the titular characters. I like Falcon just as much as anybody. I know you love Falcon.
You don't like him as much as me, because nobody does.
Nobody likes Falcon as much as you. I've always thought Bucky sucked. I think he's a really boring character that we do nothing with except just say, like, man, wouldn't it suck to be, think about it, wouldn't it suck to be Bucky? And I go, uh-huh. Okay. And then that's all we've done for years and years and years with Bucky. And then we're doing the exact same thing here where he's still sad about being the Winter Soldier. It's like, yes, I understand that that's sad and all, but I'm tired of just seeing Sebastian Stan kind of mope and frown while he's looking into the mid-distance. I'm tired of that. And then once we get like them together in the second episode, I feel like I'm watching two completely different characters. Like, I don't know what Falcon's problem is in this show. I don't really know what Bucky's problem is in this show. And like they have like a weird like Hobbs and Shaw sort of dynamic, but in something that's not nearly as goofy as Hobbs and Shaw was. Like, I don't know, like I could come around on this show, but I don't know what it was. I kind of got off to the wrong foot with this.
Oh, interesting. I am kind of surprised to hear you say some of that, to be honest with you.
Oh, well, I'm sorry. I don't mean to break anybody's heart, but
no, not at all.
Right now, I'm not feeling it.
Well, I just think that we had totally different experiences with this and kind of watched different things. So I don't have the thing that you do with Winter Soldier. I do think that on paper he's more interesting than he has been on film, at least until this show. I am kind of fascinated by him, especially in the pilot. I gotta quit saying that. The first episode. These things don't have pilots. But right. But I could say that about a lot of characters that just have not had enough screen time yet. It's always bothered me that the MCU can't decide how much Bucky should be held accountable for his actions in the past when it's clearly all 100% mind control. This show seems to be getting around that a little bit finally. I get why the Man would feel like he has a road to redemption to take, and why he has kind of a penance. Because I think I would feel that way too. It's like the only thing he's done for 90 years is what Hydra tells him to, and I think anybody would feel like I should have been stronger than that. I should have been able to break out of that, but it's physically impossible because of the programming and all of that. I've always so I'm interested in that where he feels that way, but the world is respecting very much that he is not responsible for those things. He's getting a pardon. He's able to live his own life. What does that even look like? I want to be careful not to get giantly into spoilers yet, because I almost did that. I almost just delved into what was going on with him and the guy that he's with in that first episode. But yeah, I can see why you're not sure about the dynamic with them. I was questioning it with the trailers, where I was like, oh really, we're gonna do a show where it's like this buddy cop thing where these two guys don't like each other, where like the only things we've really seen them do on screen is kind of like fun banter, like they're gonna have this giant rivalry. Oh, okay, they're winning me on it some, because it's all about and I guess I have to spoil just most people watching this if they've seen the show, I'm sure. I'm gonna have to spoil the initial setup for this, which is Falcon decides that he is not Captain America. He doesn't deserve to hold on to the shield, or at least it belongs to Steve Rogers. It's not Captain America's not a mantle; it's a man. And so he gives up the shield to the government. It's supposed to go in a museum, and they immediately, just because they have a shield, cast a new Captain America and make a new superhero. And it's U.S. Agent, but he's not called that. And it's John Walker. And so their rivalry, Falcon and Bucky, is all about Bucky thinking that he shouldn't have given up the shield. Now it's going to just some guy, and they don't know if they can trust that guy. He's not, he's a lot less Captain America than those two guys, arguably, because they knew Steve, and Steve wanted Falcon to get the shield. We'll talk a little bit later about that whole thing, because I have kind of questions about now what exactly Captain America meant when he said the shield does belong to Falcon. That when Falcon says it feels like it belongs to someone else, he says, well, it doesn't. I'm starting to think that might be more literal than we thought it was, and we'll have to talk about that a little bit later, because I have questions about it. But yeah, so they won me around on that because I get, because there's a specific argument at the center of it. It's not just these guys don't get along because it's fun for protagonists to not get along. They were friends before this. I think that they are maybe working a little bit too hard to find reasons for them to be irritable with each other. On top of that, but at least it comes from an initial place, so I appreciate that. My best thing is just overall tone, especially in that second episode. It is a perfect marriage between Winter Soldier and Civil War, and I think it's just going to ramp up and become more of that as it goes along. It's the direct sequel to both those both those movies, like I was hoping and thought it would be, and it's that way tonally and thematically. The marriage of tones is really cool to me. It's actually kind of crazy to me to imagine that the Russos are not making this, because it really kind of feels like they are to me, like that. And again, especially with that second episode. The first, I feel like, is a straight-up prologue, and if only it was called that, I think I'd be a little bit more okay with it, because it doesn't feel like that's where the story should start. But there are scenes in that episode that you need, and I do appreciate that we don't do that standard, like, start in the future and then work our way backwards thing that I'm always complaining about. Yet there's a part of me that almost wishes we'd done that, but not really. You know what I mean? I don't actually want to open with that first scene of the second episode and then backtrack, but it would have been such a good opening for this show, so I kind of wish we'd done that. I don't want to go non-linear, but I just wish that we somehow could have gotten away with not having some of the scenes in that first episode. But what I was saying a minute ago is tonally, it feels like a sequel to those movies, but also thematically, it is that. It's dealing with everything that Civil War was about, and it's dealing with everything that Winter Soldier was about, and it's a perfect blend of those things. I think the villain plot is really interesting, and I like that it's all about the status quo now versus what it was 5 years ago with the blip. This is all I wanted after the blip, was like real, actual social consequences to all of this, and exploring that. So we have a terrorist plot that with the Flag Smashers, and of course, at some point the Flag Smashers had to come up with a Captain America thing, and I think that's like a 70s or 80s Captain America thing, and we have gender swapped the leader of that, the Flag Smasher, and she's kind of like modern terrorist. and she's all about the world going back to the way it was before half of the world came back, where she wants a one world government and thinks that we were getting closer to the best way to live before everybody came back. And I don't know, I just think that's really interesting. I think the racial component to this is potentially fascinating as we move along. I like that we haven't yet we haven't gotten super in your face or preachy about it. I don't know what it's even saying about that stuff yet, which I really appreciate. It's not just right away in your face about that stuff, but it's there, and it feels like it might be using the blip to say something broader about where we are right now, the kind of political division we have in the world right now, specifically regarding race. Which could be really interesting. But anyway, so I liked it. Thematically, it's about those political issues from both of those movies. And then worst thing, I guess, is gonna be just that pilot that first episode not immediately grabbing me the way I thought it might. Boy, if I started with that second episode, I would have been just stoked. I was really kind of surprised by the giant, what I thought, leap of quality we had in that second episode. And I'm surprised that you didn't have that experience, but that's how I felt about it. I thought the writing immediately got crisper and tighter. I thought that second episode got so much done story-wise. The first episode was kind of meandering and taking its time too much, I thought. I was interested in one side of it, but not another. I found myself a little bit impatient to get the band together, and I wouldn't have felt that way if I had been enjoying the Falcon stuff as much as the Winter Soldier stuff, which I feel weird about saying because I love Falcon so much, and like you, I've never cared all that much about Winter Soldier except for ideas on paper, and I don't know, it's just I didn't really care enough, as much as I felt like I was supposed to, about Sam and his sister trying to, arguing about whether or not they should keep a boat. But on the Winter Soldier side, it was all about his kind of going down a list of people that he had wronged in some way, or that he had helped them wrong people, and that whole thing was really interesting. I feel like I'm on a different planet with Connor on this. I think that could have been a show. I think Winter Soldier with this list going around for 13 episodes or something, trying sort of like Arrow in the first season of that show, just like knocking people off a list, could actually have been really interesting. And I love their banter in that second episode. But anyway, so yes, I'm absolutely feeling it. I'm really happy with where this is right now. I will be really surprised if it doesn't stick the landing, because it feels really tight at the moment, and it feels like a long form movie in the best sense at the moment, because I feel like that second episode gets plenty done, but it feels like we're still very much in the first act, if it was a 3-act thing, so that's good. I just feel like that first episode is a straight up prologue. So that's where I'm at with it. We can talk more broadly now, and folks, again, feel free to put in questions and super chats. We've got a couple already. I'll let Connor respond to anything that I just said that he wants to, because I kind of rambled on a bit, and then we'll answer these first couple of super chats. Go ahead, Connor.
So you're right. On paper, there are a lot of really cool ideas here. Primarily, there's a lot of borders is sort of this. My brother and I were talking about this. Like borders is like a common thing in this, like the borders of like being a civilian versus a veteran versus being a soldier. Like the opening action scene is like trying to stop Batroc the Leaper before he crosses a border. The villains don't want any borders, and there's like borders on race, there's borders on all kinds of things, and so that's definitely like a really interesting and neat concept. I think that where a lot of so when you're like talking about a lot of the ideas that the show's kind of like approaching, like I think these are really cool ideas to do with a show, specifically with these characters. I just think that it's all in the execution. Honestly, like you had said, like you were surprised that the Russos didn't make this, and I kind of had a bit of an opposite reaction where I felt like I was like so thankful that we got the Russos for Winter Soldier and Civil War, because if like those movies had been, I think, executed in a similar way to this, I would have been bored out of my mind during those movies, because I feel like the show so far has not done a very good job of exploring these ideas that aren't characters just directly saying exactly what you're supposed to get out of a scene. I think that Bucky has been so he's been done so dirty by the cinematic universe so far, at least to me, where I don't know how to read the guy, and we finally like he just shows up in the second episode and like says hey to Sam, and he's like mad at him for giving up the shield, and then it's not until they have to literally sit in a therapy session and just explain why they're upset where I finally understand what's going on. Like I don't get that stuff from Bucky when he starts opening up about why he's upset in this episode and why he's upset with Sam. And so I think that
I don't see why that's a problem, honestly, because this is a guy who's really closed off and isn't going to talk about anything unless somebody forces him to. Like, where did you want that to come from? How was that going to happen until somebody made him talk? Like,
I wanted that to come from visual storytelling and a performance that cued me in on that. It's always Bucky kind of like scowling, and I don't know. I think that.
But it's a show on his side about a guy who does not know how to express himself. I really don't think that the show doesn't know how to convey what he's about. I think it's that he doesn't. Like I just don't know visually how you do that. Like I just don't know what you're looking for.
Okay, so when it comes to Bucky, I'm looking to get in his head at all. Like maybe he has trouble expressing himself, but like I want to know what he's thinking and understand. Yeah, I'm curious how he would like express this. I don't know how he would get this off his chest. Like for example, I don't know if we're gonna like go into spoilers, but there's a reveal.
Yeah, we can do that now, by the way. Sure.
Okay, so spoiler time. Now my brother doesn't get this complaint, but like so he's been engaging in like a sort of friendship with this older man who as it sort of comes that this is the father of a person he killed when he was the Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
And I don't know why he didn't just walk up to him one day, say, "I'm sorry I killed your son," and then have to deal with that. Like, why did he have to get emotionally invested? Now, I understand this guy's older. He can actually relate with him because they're like probably born the same year or something. And, you know, Bucky has more in common with like elderly people than he does with younger people. I understand that. But like, I don't know how this guy didn't just, like, if this is like the number one guy on your list of shame, like, why don't you just like knock on his door? "Sorry, I killed your son. I'm the guy. Like, I did it. I'm sorry." And like make amends that way. But like, why did he have to get emotionally involved? Like, he has to know that's just going to come and bite him. Like, you just go to the VA, find a bunch of old people that, you know, survived war, and like, boom, you have like 5 friends instead of just the one. And like, I thought that the date scene that he has, that like the older guy kind of sets him up with like with a bartender. Like, I know that like beyond the function of getting him to try to break down and go see the older guy, and then he stops, he doesn't make amends there. But outside of the function of just kind of getting him sort of stirred up, they keep that conversation with that girl keeps going back to like the older man who set them up. Beyond that, like I don't know, it's like the scene's not about anything else. It's like I see every scene in this show is serving function. It's like, okay, this is like, we're supposed to get Bucky here so that you can understand that in the final episode he'll make amends with that older man. Like you know what I'm saying? Like I'm just seeing the function of the scene, and I'm not seeing like the dressing. I'm not seeing like I don't feel like I'm on an uncomfortable date that could potentially be something with Bucky. I feel like I'm just kind of observing 2 people who don't really know each other having an awkward date where he eventually just kind of gets up and leaves. So I don't know. I feel like a lot like, now what would I do to change it? I don't know. I'm not a professional filmmaker who's making a TV show about like this stuff, and I feel like a lot of like, I don't know. There are plenty of movies I like that are about emotionally closed off people, but I don't think that the stuff with Bucky has really been effective.
Yeah, I don't get that complaint at all. I guess I can see where you're coming from when you say that he could have just gone to that guy and told him what happened in the first place. I don't know that guy would have understood that. I'm not sure. I was a little bit unsure if they maybe had a history before that in some way, as old as he is. I thought maybe that was part of it. And now we're like now we're like moving on to the main villain plot of the show, and not dealing with that at the moment in the second episode. So I'm kind of reserving judgment, I guess, until we get back to it, because I don't know where that stuff is necessarily going. I was just really interested in because I guess I was less interested in the drama of he killed that guy's son, and more interested in him palling around with a guy who is actually his age. That whole thing was really cool and interesting to me, and I wasn't really expecting that. I like all of and I think it reads pretty authentic. All of the references to period stuff from the 30s and 40s when Bucky was younger, and he's still, it's kind of like he's finally getting to do what Steve did all the way back in 2012 in the first Avengers, where he is able to catch up culturally and see what the world is all about. He's got a phone now, he doesn't even know how to use it. All of that stuff. We could be doing really annoying fish out of water stuff with that, and we're not. I think the drama for that plays pretty well. But anyway, it sounds to me, Connor, like you're just expecting more subtext in some of those scenes, which is just not a thing I thought about. I kind of appreciated how straightforward it was. Like when you say, you didn't feel like you were watching a scene with him and the girl that he was on a date with a person that could go anywhere. I just think that was the point. Like, I think it's exactly what you said it was, and I think that's the point of it, and I think that's fine. I think that's interesting enough. It just sounds like, with respect, it sounds like you're wanting this to be something that it isn't. With that character.
Well, I feel like what I'm wanting is anything with substance, and it's like deliberately not having substance, and like beyond just like a very like thin. Sometimes it's hard to make amends when you have this emotional baggage. It's like, okay, I saw like the last TV show we got from Marvel was all about emotional baggage, and for the half of that show I was really into it. Now that of course is dressed up in like expressionism and like weird sitcom stuff, but I feel like if you're going to make, like, I need to be in the characters. I feel like I should be in the character's head more than I am, and if it's supposed to be this straightforward, I'm a little disappointed then that the scenes are as long as they are.
Well, yeah, and I'm with you with that first episode. I don't have that at all in the second one. Like I said, I think we got plenty done. But yeah, that's my frustration with that first episode, Connor, is that I think it's too much of a prologue, and I think it could have been half an hour. And I think maybe it should have been. I think it should have been called prologue, and I think it should have been half an hour. I think the show starts in that second episode. I don't think that the main drive of the interpersonal drama is in that beginning place. I think that's all about establishing status quo. This is what Falcon is having to deal with in his life right now, and I thought that stuff was way less interesting than the Winter Soldier stuff. But I did like that we were dealing with. I like that we were dealing with like financials and people like coming back and not having job history and all of that. But I will say the Winter Soldier stuff seemed more real and believable than the other side, than the Falcon stuff. I just couldn't believe that there weren't more like clear programs and things for like 3.5 billion people who come back and are trying to get loans and things. Like the guy at the loan place, 50% of the people that come into that place have got to have the exact same issues that Falcon does, and he's acting like it's the only one he's dealt with in a month, and it's ridiculous. Like Sam and his sister sit down, and for a minute I thought that they were playing this like weird race card thing with it, and I don't think that's what they were doing, but it felt like it for a second, where it was like, maybe this guy is just kind of half racist or something. No, I think it's just, he's hardly ever dealt with anybody from the blip who doesn't have job history. He's like, well, it says here that you haven't worked anywhere in 5 years. He's like, yeah, me and even Sam thinks that's ridiculous because it is. And he's like, well, yeah, me and billions of other people. And he's like, yeah, but I still can't give you a loan. And like, I kind of get that, but you'd think he'd deal with it all the time. You'd think he'd have like, that guy should be fired because at least he should be better at letting people down. on a thing like that. But yeah, that's just all prologue material. That's just establishing the status quo. I wish this show could have opened with that first scene with John Walker, because it's the last thing you would have expected. Who the heck is this guy? And then you discover through the scene, like, imagine you've not seen that first episode, that prologue, Connor, and the first intro and the introduction, because I think you would like the show better if the first thing you saw was that second episode. And you're introduced first to John Walker. Who's this random guy? Why are we seeing him talk to his friend in a locker room? And then he's like, there's so much pressure on me. I've got all this stuff to deal with. And then and like it's an honor, but I don't know how to handle it. And then he walks out on the football field and he's Captain America. You're like, whoa! And then we get the Marvel logo, and then you get that great marching band version of the USO theme from the first Avenger movie, which knocked my socks off, man. I thought it was so cool. He brought back that Captain America. And I was like, that's awesome. God, that's how the show should have opened. And
cool, yeah.
It's how it should have opened. And I really appreciate the scene with Rhodey in the pilot, and the thing at the beginning with him, flashing back in his head to the moment that Captain America gives him the shield, and all of that establishes the thematic issues and the internal conflict for Sam and everything. But God, I think we almost could have just been told about that stuff. I'm not totally sure we needed to see it.
Yeah, so I should say when the show starts, like the first couple of scenes, I was really into that opening action scene. I thought was kind of killer. It was really cool that like the people with the squirrel suits were like jumping from like helicopter to helicopter with the heat-seeking missiles. It's a really cool showcase for Falcon's wings that I don't
goes on too long. It's way too long.
Oh, you did?
It's way too long. Well, because I didn't care about that conflict. Like I could tell from the beginning that it probably wasn't going to be related at all to the rest of the story, and it's not. Or if it is, it could be really tangentially. Like I don't know, maybe Batroc will come back and be part of it. I don't know. But it seemed like
for Batroc the Leaper, we only got 3 kicks. Come on, guys, that's his whole thing. Let's give him more than 3 kicks to throw.
Dude, I'm with you. We didn't get to see him jump around or anything. For TV, it looked really good, right? Like I did not have those complaints we did about WandaVision. Like you had this like 10-minute long flying sequence. It all looked pretty good to me.
Yeah, and I think after that with Falcon, handing over the shield at the Smithsonian and talking to Rhodey, that stuff that was setting up, I was really into. And then, like you said, it just sort of stops becoming a setup for a story and then becomes a prologue for characters. And then it seems like the stuff with Falcon, like, and I actually, the stuff with like him at the bank, it's like, what if half of the world, like, what if the world's economy just like shrunk by like half?
Yeah.
And then it's like, and then all of a sudden after the blip, like all of a sudden, like I don't think they have the resources to loan out that kind of money. But yeah, maybe like the execution with like the bank guy would be.
No, you're right. They wouldn't. And like I said, I feel like there should be some kind of program that like maybe it's dried up or they don't have a lot of money left in it or whatever. But we don't even really talk about it. It just seems like they act like it's too extenuating. And I realize that Sam is talking about that. He's like, yeah, me and all these other billions of other people. But it's just weird the way that other guy played it. I don't know.
I wonder how long it's been since like Endgame. If it's been like 2 weeks, maybe he hasn't run into.
They said people. Like 6 months, I think.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, he would have run into people wanting loans.
A lot, yeah. It's only been a few months.
But so, and then I thought it was a little strange how the thing opens with Sam giving up the shield, and then the episode ends with John Walker coming out, and then it's this kind of big cliffhanger of who's this new Captain America. And I feel like a lot of that middle,
which is such a standard comic book ending, right? The whole thing. Yeah, except that second episode was such a better introduction to me. If we don't even know that guy's supposed to be a Captain America when we're introduced to him, I think that scene on the football field is so much more interesting, and so much more exciting. And it felt that's not a first episode. It's a 0 issue. Like go to comics, it's a 0 issue. And like you could almost get away with not watching it. Now that might not be true later on when we see how some of those scenes in that pay off. I wish, Connor, it would play with the form a little more. Because it feels like it's basically doing a standard comic thing. I wish it would just come out and call itself a prologue. I wish that first episode wasn't even part of the show. Play with the form a little bit, because that's what it is. Like, I think, having just seen 2 episodes, maybe I won't feel that way by the end. Maybe it'll bookend brilliantly, and I won't feel that way. But
I when it comes to like the main conflict of like the Flag Smashers, I'm kind of 2 minds about it, because on the one hand I like how not emotionally invested in it Sam is, and he just kind of stumbles upon it. He's like, oh crap, we just stumbled across some super soldiers, and then like I thought
that's cool.
I like that as an idea. I also think that
that's a little convenient because they're Captain America people, but sure.
Hey, yeah. I mean, that's true, but I think just as like a concept for like a they're not like hot on the trail of this threat or something. It's like, hey, I found out that there are these things called Flag Smashers. I'm gonna figure it out. Oh crap, okay. But I like that. I think that on the other hand, though, for it's a little ill-defined. Maybe that's the wrong word. I don't know. There's something about the conflict that I feel does feel like it's a little tacked on to the side, where because a lot of while I do like how this is something he kind of stumbles across, it does feel like it's still on the emotional back burner where and I understand that this is like kind of the formula, but I feel like with how much the show's trying to accomplish, it might be trying, like with that second episode, after that first episode kind of takes a while to set things up, it's trying to just jump into 5 different directions in that second episode. And some of those different directions it's trying to jump in feel a little uneven. And I think the conflict is that. And I'm sure by the end of it, like, we'll connect with it. But by the end of that episode, they're saying, we got to go talk to Zemo, which I think is like cinematic shorthand for the conflict is more personal than we thought.
Yeah,
and
sure.
I don't feel like the conflict is as personal as I think it maybe as it should be by that point. But I also think it's trying to do like 4 other different things in that episode. But I liked seeing Isaiah. That was.
And I was going to go to Isaiah too. I'm a little, and I don't know who that actor is, but he's brilliant. I found myself wondering if ultimately it might be not even enough in how personal the conflict is for each of our protagonists. And I'm curious to see how that's handled and if they stick the landing with it. Because right now, the actual like super soldier plot seems a lot more weighty for Winter Soldier, and with Falcon he's just kind of along for the ride. But for Falcon it's all about whether or not he should have given up the shield. I feel like it's going to kind of splinter in a couple directions, where the Flag Smasher stuff is going to be a lot more connected to Winter Soldier in an interpersonal way, and the US agent stuff is going to be a lot more about Falcon. And I also kind of wonder if our protagonists end up splitting off physically again at some point, if they stay together the whole show, or if we have a couple of episodes where each of them are off doing their own things. Because right now, I still feel like if I had to pick between a show, I'd probably pick the Winter Soldier show. But the Falcon stuff is getting more exciting. I like everything with his giving up the shield and why he's doing that, and I like the idea that like nobody understands why he did that, and he does not know how to articulate that. Because it's so personal, and it's all about just that friendship with Steve, and that like he's not that guy, he's a different person, which is interesting, because I think it might be him not giving himself enough credit, and I think that's probably where the show is going with it, because I think they made a really good case in Winter Soldier for him being a lot like Steve, but just like a modern version of him. And then he's who gets the shield, and then he's like, "No, I'm not Captain America," and I'm like, "No, but you are, dude. Like, take it, like, own it." I'm seeing some people in the comments saying that, and we'll get to some super chats in a minute, saying that that Bucky deserves the shield. There's no reason he shouldn't just take it. I don't agree with that at all. I don't think it makes any sense whatsoever for Bucky at this stage in his life to get the shield. I think he would like to stand for the same things that his friend Steve did. I don't think he can at this point, because he can't. And this is where Connor and I are at loggerheads a little bit, because I think the show is saying that Bucky doesn't know if he's even a human being right now. He can't decide if he's even a person. He was programmed by Hydra, and and turned into a machine for so long that he's, trying to push against that whole thing. And yeah, he's not still, he doesn't still have that programming in his head, but it's how he's used to operating and dealing with stuff. I think the idea is that there's still a lot of that in his brain, and I always have to remind myself that he is a cyborg, that it's not just the arm, but it's also his brain, and so his brain operates differently than a regular person's, and some of that circuitry is still there, and so and I don't know, maybe just as a big is the sci-fi guy I am, this resonates with me a lot, where he's you have that bit with the therapist in the first episode where we keep flashing back to what he actually did in dealing with that senator lady or whoever she was, versus what he's claiming that he did with the therapist. And he doesn't know how to not be Winter Soldier. He doesn't know how to not operate that way. Anytime somebody says we're not assassins, he just dodges that. It's like, yeah, maybe I still kind of am. I mean, he's not straight up murdering people, but I feel like he's pushing against that all the time. Like, that's conflict resolution for Winter Soldier is bang, you're dead. He doesn't know how to not be that way. He's trying really hard not to. So like when you say you want to get in his head more, this is a guy who doesn't know who he is, and this is a guy who's not even in his mind necessarily a person, not a human being. You got that thing in the first episode again with the therapist where she says you're free now. He's like, to do what? Like what do I do with myself? So no. He should not be Captain America. Not yet. He could get there eventually. I think he needs 3 series worth of stories first, but yeah.
I feel like there's a lot happening around Bucky, and there's a lot, I don't know. This is just like one of those things where I've had an issue with Bucky for years, and it's like I feel like I can't articulate what it is. It's hard for me to, I kind of like hit my head against the wall, because I know a lot of people really like that character. And hey, if it works for you guys, that's cool and all, but I think that and it's not even a Sebastian Stan thing. I actually really like Sebastian Stan quite a bit. So getting into like their dynamic, I was a little confused with why we spent so long with them apart from one another. Because it's a prologue and it's establishing status quo before it breaks it. That's the only reason. But then what ends up happening is, so I guess Bucky missed the Smithsonian announcement. He missed, all the news. But when he saw the John Walker reveal,
that's a good point.
Then he's like, all of a sudden he's like, what? And then he goes and just he knows where to find Sam. He just kind of goes to the hangar and they start talking. I'm like, oh, so do they work together? Like, wait, hold on. What's the dynamic like? And if they haven't really, if they're not, okay. I gotta backtrack a little bit. So these two characters, it makes sense that they wouldn't really be friends necessarily. They could be acquaintances, maybe friendly with one another.
Yeah, I don't think they'd be palling around with each other, but I wouldn't think that. I would think that animosity would only be there because of the S.H.I.E.L.D. thing. Mm-hmm. And they're kind of acting like they were already really irritated with each other. I don't like that the episode plays it like they've been the buddy cop thing for a lot longer than they have. That's weird.
Yeah, and I don't know. I kind of like the idea of two people who aren't really friends. They both had the same friend. They had the same best friend. And then now they got to try to so I kind of like that idea of a pairing. But I think that, like you said, they're kind of playing it off like they didn't really like each other before. No, they were given Steve the nod of approval in Civil War together. They were. I want to say they were cracking jokes together at some point. So
I thought they were. It was Bucky who said, "Yeah, go over there and talk to Steve, the elderly 90-year-old man who just came back that we'll never see again. No, you go over there." That was a moment. But I'm not going to say that they don't seem like the same characters. I don't get that. The relationship seems too different. And the biggest thing that I didn't understand was why, and I think Snuffles asked me to talk about this, what do you think of the therapy scene at the end? I like the scene well enough. I don't get why the therapist thinks that they need to talk together and have couples counseling in that moment the way they do. I've watched it twice now. I don't know what's happening in that scene. The issue was he didn't show up to his therapy session that was mandated for his parole or whatever, for his pardoning, was the condition of part of the conditioning of his pardoning, and then when him and Falcon both show up at that base and she's there, she's like, no, both of you come in and talk to me. I'm like, it doesn't have anything to do with whether or not they get along. I didn't understand that. And when she's like, no, I'm not taking no for an answer, you come with me. I'm like, does she have any authority over Falcon?
I'm a little confused because, I mean, speaking of authority and Falcon, later he's like, I'm a free agent. I'm like, can he just like do whatever he wants? Because like him investigating this Flag Smasher seems to be like a personal investigation that eventually concerns John Walker.
We are still really vague about how the Sokovia Accords even operate, because they're not on the books as... He's not Rhodey, right? He's not working directly for the military. It is... And I like that conversation with John Walker about that, when John's like, it just makes sense for us all to work together. And they're like, no, it doesn't, because you have red tape you have to deal with that we don't. We're free agents, like you said. We're superheroes. It's basically, we're superheroes and you guys are the military. I'm like, yeah, but with the Sokovia Accords on the books, it's a lot less black and white that way. And yeah, you guys were on the run for 2 years over that whole thing, but you're bound by them now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know how the law works with all of that, and they seem to just be allowed to do whatever they want to until something horrible happens. I guess? I don't know.
Yeah. So then, like, the big action scene in the second episode with, like, the trucks, that got off to a strange start, because, like, that's, like, the first real, like, in action you see these two dealing with one another. I would think that since Bucky, was an assassin...
O.J. Asher says the Accords got thrown out. Did I miss that? I thought that was still on the books, or some version of it was, but maybe not.
Yeah, look, I love Civil War.
So can superheroes just go do whatever they want to now? Like, okay. All right.
Yeah. The way the Accords have sort of just been hanging around, I like Civil War the most out of any of the Marvel movies, but
no, I'm wrong. Falcon obviously does still work for the military. Because, like, that's where the wings came from and everything. Rohit says, I guess I was just thrown off by that because they were talking like, we're superheroes and you guys are military, but I guess he's somewhere in the middle. Rohit says, Falcon's a government contractor who works with the Air Force, but not under them, so he's a free agent, unlike Walker, who's specifically working within the government. Okay, but he would still be, I would think, more tied to certain rules that he's acting like he would be.
Yeah, but that first action scene, like, Bucky... So I
forgot about the Air Force thing. They did say that, yeah.
Okay. So Bucky starts, like, I think since he has experience as being an assassin, like, he would understand the concept of, let's wait till they get to their hideout so we know what's going on. He just wants to go in guns blazing, which I feel like is counter to the information we're given about him up until this point. And then Falcon is sort of being like, okay, we know, let's. He kind of has the sensible, let's just be gathering intel right now, which is weird because I don't know why. Like, I'm sure they talked, like they had like an in-scene excuse for it, but like I don't know why Sam is just letting Bucky come with him on this mission, because it seems like this is like a mission he's sort of following. Is it because I don't know. I feel like once like we have Falcon and Winter Soldier together, it's like a really easy, like quick sort of. It doesn't matter why they get together. Like we spend a whole episode of them apart, get them together for whatever reason, and then immediately their dynamic is just kind of, I don't know. It just, I feel sort of counter to like Bucky's characterization that we've sort of had, because he struck me as a little bit more stealth, and I don't know. He was able to.
That's a good point.
Like,
yeah.
He's been able to like fight Steve and like Natasha and like a bunch of people like in the streets in Winter Soldier, and now he's like having trouble fighting like people on like a convoy, and
but they were all super soldiers.
I guess so.
It was 8 super soldiers.
Okay.
It was 8 of them.
But not all at once. They were like taking turns. All right.
That's true.
Like,
it is funny that 2 regular, not super strength human beings had to jump in and save them.
Yeah, and moreover, there's like so the Infus Nest lady from the movie Solo plays the leader of the Flag Smashers. I don't know if you remembered her from Solo.
I did not. Somebody mentioned that in the comments, and I never remember any of the cast from that movie hardly, because they're just not memorable to me. Like we're talking about Solo, not Rogue One. Now that you say that, I do remember her, but I've only seen that movie like one time. So okay, all right.
I don't know. I feel like, so this is the second thing I've seen her in, and she's cast as like the leader of the Young Rebellion in Solo and the leader of the Flag Smashers here.
Well, typecast. And by Disney things.
Yeah, maybe Disney really thinks she's got a strong presence.
That's
feel
a
like
good point.
she's a little miscast. I think that she kind of comes across as a little bit more like sheepish and shy and
I think that's on purpose. I think that's entirely intentional.
I know, but like even in something like Solo, like I don't get how like her presence or like rhetoric or whatever like motivates others. She just kind of like, I know that she's supposed to look unassuming, but she can like whoop it. But even when she's like with like her crew, she's just kind of like, I don't know. Like I feel like, I don't know, get somebody with a little bit more presence.
And you're right for the sake of an exciting TV drama. I think it's very modern. I think the idea of people who can I think what you've maybe forgotten, Connor, is that this was an online group. And there's a lot of people like that on the internet that can rally people together, with the persona they create online. And when you meet the person, they're nothing like that. I think that's what they're doing. Like I forgot about that until a second watch, but it's it was supposed to be entirely a 100% online group.
Okay, all right, yeah. There are elements of this show that I forgot about in the last couple of days.
Like I said, I did go back and rewatch them, but
yeah. I don't know. Was there anything you wanted to talk about? Because I feel like I've just been complaining a little too much.
No, not at all.
I don't hate this show. I think that for this show though, like I wasn't really excited about it, not because I thought it was going to be bad or anything, but there were just other shows like I'm really excited for Loki, and I was really excited for WandaVision, and then this one was like, yeah, I know what like the Captain America corner of the Marvel Universe looks like, but hey, and like the day before I was like, hey, hold on, Winter Soldier's great, and Civil War is my favorite Marvel movie. This is going to be great. And then I kind of was watching. I'm like, oh, this is not as good as I kind of want it to be. Maybe it'll watch better all this one kind of big 6 episode binge. So
yeah, and you're talking about some stuff that I had just not thought about. I'm not with you on Winter Soldier. I think that stuff is pretty interesting. But
most people aren't with me on Winter Soldier.
But you make some good points about some of the dynamic issues in that second episode. Let's go ahead and tackle some super chats here. Thomas Ledbetter, thoughts on Walker as a mirror of Cap? I found him more sympathetic than expected. Same here. That excited me. And with the moniker and symbol, but not the character in virtue ethics or humble beginnings. Yeah, exactly. I like that the guy seems to have his heart in the right place, but he's clearly not the right personality type for that mantle. Which is best characterized in the scene where one of our characters, maybe it was Falcon, asks him if he's ever jumped onto a grenade to save somebody else, which is that big moment in the first Avenger, which got which was the reason that Steve was the candidate for the Super Soldier program in the first place, because he was all about others and would sacrifice himself in a moment. And this guy says, "Yeah, I did it 4 times. I had this helmet that saved me." Like he's a different person. He's not Steve Rogers, but he's not an a-hole. He's not a horrible person. He's a good soldier. He's exactly what you would expect the United States government to go for. And he's, by the way, this is good. I forgot about this. He's also exactly the kind of person that the government in even the 40s in First Avenger was going after. He's exactly that build. He's exactly that personality type. They were looking for. It was that West Point thing. I think they even say that in this. They were going for somebody that was like at the top of his class that could handle all of the most difficult physical ailments and stuff. But it was the doctor guy, it was Airston or whatever his name is, who ultimately picked Steve because of his values, and I really love that. I love that's the guy they went with. Like of course he is. I don't think he's gonna like turn around and become sinister or anything. You have that one moment toward the end of that second episode where he says, "Well, if you guys won't work with us, don't get in our way." He's clearly going to be an antagonist for our characters, but I don't think it's like now that I'm Captain America, I can do whatever I want, and like I'm gonna change everything, and I'm completely opposite all of the values. He's not like Hydra or something. He's a good person, but he's not Steve Rogers, and he's not even Sam, I don't think. And so obviously they're gonna he and Falcon are gonna keep being at loggerheads throughout the show. But I like that he gave Falcon and Winter Soldier every opportunity, like throughout the whole episode to work with him. But he's also a little condescending all at the same time. Like he makes that mistake of saying, well, I think Cap's wingmen should be here to validate me. It's kind of the way it comes off to them, and I don't think that's probably what he meant, but he shouldn't have said Cap's wingmen. That was a mistake. He's basically saying, come be my sidekicks. Like, he's simultaneously going, I get that I'm not Captain America, and also saying, but they named me Captain America, guys. I'm Captain America. Yeah, I think he's wonderful.
Yeah, I'm a little curious why they resist his help. I mean, I know that they don't like that. Like some guy has like been given the Captain America mantle, but I don't like if they just got like whooped by 8 super soldiers and they don't necessarily know where this threat is going, maybe like wait until like kind of take their help and like have like half an episode where they are working together until while they're working together it's like, oh, this is not working, and maybe Bucky and Sam can realize, oh, we actually work pretty well together, but we don't really work well together with him, and so then you have like a little bit of friction there.
I hope that there's consequences to this, where maybe we'll even see John be a little bit vindicated in this, where it's like, see, if only you'd worked with me. Like they get themselves into some horrible scrape, and he shows up again and rescues them, and it's like, if you just worked with us in the first place, this would have, or some horrible compromise happens, right? Because you're right, and again, I'm reserving judgment because I think maybe the point is that they made a mistake to some degree. I don't know yet, but it seems to me that they that it's too much about the symbol for them. Winter Soldier has that line where he's like, "We should just go beat him up and take the shield." and like that's not a good idea, but like is it petty? Is it just about they're taking it too personally because they consider themselves so connected to the man that was that mantle, and they're letting that get ahead of themselves? Or is it because they don't trust the government and whoever they would pick? But if Falcon is still even in a contract situation, still kind of working for the government, that seems maybe potentially somewhat hypocritical. But Winter Soldier's not doing that. He's kind of just bound by law to, do what he's told as far as his, parole goes, but he's not actually a soldier working for the government. I guess I can see it maybe even more from his side than I can from Falcon's to some degree, just because he's still a military man in some capacity. But I like fair reservations, Connor. I just got to see how it plays out.
No, I get that. But I really like the actor, though. I think Wyatt Russell, that's Kurt Russell's son, actually.
Yeah, I heard that.
He's quite good. I think Mutali said he was in 22 Jump Street as well. He's really funny in that movie.
He has, I think he looks funny in the helmet.
My brother said that he saw a meme where it was like little Carl Fredricksen from the beginning of Up right next to him. They kind of look similar with like the ears, and yeah, he looks a little goofy with the helmet on. I kind of like it.
Rahith, I predict that Zemo will manipulate Sam and Bucky to a certain degree and will escape from them. Then Walker would be even more justified and call it out on them. Yeah, I was thinking something similar. That kind of a compromise. Can I say, by the way, that we don't know how exactly, obviously, Zemo's going to work in this movie yet. We know he has to escape at some point because he's got the mask of the trailer. So he's not just going to be in there in a Hannibal Lecter capacity, but it'll be interesting to see if that happens in episode 3 or if it happens in episode 6. like where exactly he breaks out and becomes more of a main villain. Because as interested as I am in the terrorist plot, Connor, you're right. Like that girl doesn't work great as like your main lead antagonist, and I don't think she's supposed to be.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying? Like, we know Zemo's going to show up, be our masked villain at some point. Like, she's another threat, and they might become the same threat in some way for some reason. But
no, you're right. The more you're talking about that, the more it's making sense. I wasn't thinking about that, and yeah, Daniel Bruhl can chew some scenery.
And he's gonna.
He's pretty good. I love Daniel Bruhl.
He practically is just in side profile in the one shot we get him. So, I like the way Zemo is gonna be introduced because it's our protagonists that bring him in. Like in this being again both a sequel to Winter Soldier and to Civil War. Obviously, your Winter Soldier stuff is easy and built in. That's one of the main characters, so easy to make it a sequel to that movie in that way. But with Zemo, it's like, if suddenly he just starts doing random stuff now, like he breaks out at the beginning of the show or something, that would have been maybe a little bit too easy. I like that it's our protagonists that bring him into the show, as opposed to that being in some easy kind of contrived way.
Yeah, and I will say I do like the second episode considerably more, and I think that it has a better momentum overall, and I hope it carries that momentum into that third episode. I am very excited to see Zemo. I'm really happy he's got the sock face Zemo. I'm glad we're doing that, because I will say, as of right now, the Flag Smashers, their costumes look pretty CW, and I understand that it's an upstart terrorist organization.
They're not even costumes, man. They're just wearing silly helmets. Like,
I know, but it's hard not to think CW when you see.
But that's CW's fault. That's CW's fault, because that's what they should be wearing. And if CW only had like more good villain costumes in the first place, he wouldn't be saying that.
Maybe not. I don't know.
Tom, $5 super chat. Thanks, buddy. I was really impressed at how dark it was willing to go in the first episode, and Bucky and the Doorman. It's a sequel to Winter Soldier. Like, it hasn't pushed that boundary real far at all yet to me. I don't think it's too easy, and I don't think it's too squeaky clean or anything. But I'll disagree with you that was impressive. I think, like, I'm glad that it's willing to do that kind of thing. But I don't know about you, Connor, but I wasn't like, oh man, this is so dark. Like, I didn't have that.
I would have been impressed if Batroc the Leaper went and then a missile went right into his face and you saw it explode into a million people. That would have impressed me. That did not happen, but this is like a little.
I think we've revealed the real reason that he turned his sign green or red. Connor really needed to see that scene.
I was like, immediately I was off. No, but I will say I was a little surprised. It's been a minute since I've seen a Marvel thing this violent with like knives and hand-to-hand combat. But yeah, it's not like squeaky clean, but it is more in line with like Winter Soldier and stuff. I agree.
When they do something akin to that scene with Nick Fury trying to stay alive in that car with the barrage of missiles and stuff, that's when it will impress me.
Yes,
it's gotta go to that place, because 15 minutes into that movie you're like, what am I even watching? It's fantastic. I just want to talk about that some more. Writer, $2 super chat just to say Bruce banter. Yes, indeed. I think that was the thing I said in a show a couple weeks ago, maybe. I forget where that came from. Mr. Roboto, $2 super chat. Would it not have been better if Bucky was the new Cap? We already talked about that, but no, I just don't see it. It would be really impressive if it could make me believe that it could get there at some point. Not in this show. We've got 4 episodes past where we've been Connor. I don't see them doing that. I also don't think that this is going to be that battle for the Cowl thing at all. I don't think Winter Soldier wants. I don't think he wants the shield. I don't think that's what it's about. Bucky's angry with Sam for not being Captain America. That's what that argument's about. That interpersonal conflict.
And I said that I was a little frustrated that we needed to have him actually say out loud that. But I will say, once he did say that, and that is towards the end of the second episode, I was more interested in the Winter Soldier character than I've ever been.
Go back and watch it again. It's there from the beginning. Like, I'm not sure what you're talking about where you were confused as to what he was upset about. They have an exchange about it earlier. Like when they first meet and they're walking through that hangar, they're talking about it.
Him talking about like him wondering if Cap's judgment about Sam was wrong, then he must have been wrong about him. Like, and like making it like kind of personal, less upset with Sam and more like kind of like self-doubt. That was what I found most interesting about that kind of reveal. And
it is, but I don't agree with you that it comes too late, especially with just what we know about him from that first episode already. Like, he's trying to find the humanity in himself, and he clearly is really insecure. Like, I don't know. I don't know that that's too spelled out or anything.
Well, and like I think it's fine if he reveals that as like they're in therapy and they're getting vulnerable with one another, and he lets that out. I'm cool with that. I'm actually cool with how they say that, and I'm cool with that coming as late as it does. I think as an end of Act 1 sort of like character beat, that's fine. I just think it's a little frustrating that the first time I actually understand anything about him is when he has to say something completely like kind of like with words and or like in therapy, like completely like just say exactly what's on his mind. I don't know. I lost my train of thought a little bit, but
that's okay.
I think about what I'm saying though is like moving forward, episode 2 does leave me with a feeling that I could like Bucky more in the episodes to come. So I'm holding out hope. I'm not like this could end up being like a WandaVision thing where not too big at the beginning, but by the end of it I am like completely on board. And maybe, retroactively, I end up liking these 2 episodes a lot more.
But you're saying this would be flipped for WandaVision.
Exactly. It would be the inverse of WandaVision.
DGMC says Sam represents what America can be like Steve did, but Bucky represents what America actually is. Yes, of course. That's exactly what that is. And that was the point going all the way back to Winter Soldier. Mr. Roboto, would you like Bucky's list of shame? My name is Earl. I don't know what that means.
I think My Name is Earl was a show with Jason Lee, and he had a similar thing where he had a list where he was making amends.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what the question is there, but okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, it reminded me of Arrow's list, except this is about himself and not his dad.
Mm-hmm. Lists are a very effective literary tool.
They sure are. Yeah. And it's also a really in broadcast television, it's a really easy way to make episodes happen every week too. DGMC $2 super chat would love a one shot of Bucky on The Bachelor. Okay, sure. Yeah, I don't need the Bucky dating show. I kind of like that we got away from that pretty quick because obviously he sucks at it. But yeah, I thought that scene was kind of cute initially. I thought it was fun they were just playing Battleship. I think it's especially kind of amusing just seeing a guy who was a programmed assassin for Hydra playing Battleship. But then when it turned into, I don't know, she's not. It's funny because he's supposed to be the in-person, the non-human machine. And she's the one that is not taking the hint that she is barking up the wrong tree when she starts hitting way too close to home with stuff that he did in his past. Like, I would think after the first thing she said, she'd be like, maybe we should change the topic. But nope, she just keeps going.
She's a killer. She on the first date, she likes to hit hard to see if they stick around. Ladies, that's the trick, okay? Yeah, that's it.
Guys, we're at an hour, and this is just our initial kind of first impressions video. We'll do a full-on spoiler cast when the show is done. So we'll keep going for a couple more minutes if there's anything else we didn't talk about that anybody wants to hear about. But other than that, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap up here pretty soon. Connor, anything else come to you?
Ahmad Wilkins says, did you guys talk about Isaiah Bradley? Did you want to talk a little bit more about him?
Go ahead, sure.
Well, I really liked that actor, and I thought that was a cool, again, like kind of going to the race element where, like there was a black super soldier in the past and just nobody knows about him. And I thought that was kind of interesting and how, he was experimented on in prison and like Hydra experimented on him and like you could.
That was all really messed up. Yeah.
Yeah. You could use your brain and realize, wait, that means S.H.I.E.L.D. probably had his blood and was experimenting with that.
Uh-huh.
All that stuff is really cool. I think I really hope we get more of him in future episodes.
Doesn't it make you wonder, though, just how many super soldiers are running around where you're like, oh, God, now they can just pull them out from anywhere, whenever they want to.
And I think it makes sense that Bucky wouldn't talk about him. But I think that I really hope we see more of him in a future episode.
Me too.
Because if we don't, then we were just doing a detour to have like some kind of like social commentary about veterans and like race and like all that kind of stuff, and they could have just gone to Zemo to begin with. But I think that if we get more of him to begin with or later, that'd be great. But even just as an isolated scene, I think it's an effective scene.
Yeah, and can I suggest though that even if we don't go back, I'm with you. I hope we do, because that was such a strong scene. That was some of the best writing in the episode. I also really liked the Black Falcon scene, by the way. I thought that was that was some great writing as well.
That was pretty fun.
What are you, black kid? Well then, okay. That was great. I love that we came out and finally did some commentary about the whole like black whoever thing that we've had in comics for decades back, and now like not intentionally throwing shade at things like CW's Black Lightning and stuff, but kind of because we're still using these characters and using those names. But it's funny because even like, you know, Goliath wasn't Black Goliath, like,
right. And it was really funny when it's like, who are you, White Panther? No, I'm White Wolf.
No, White Wolf. We still have that, yeah.
I thought that was pretty funny.
No, that's great. But I would say that even if we keep it as an isolated scene, it's pretty effective because it's a really cool way to do exposition, because it's such a like really hot emotional scene, and the main reason it's there, like yeah, it introduces some social commentary that I'm hoping will continue to play through the show, but the main reason it's there is just to say there were other super soldiers, and there have been going all the way back. You could have had that easily could have been a scene where we're just looking up stuff on on an old Shield computer or something, and right. Doing it that way is so much more interesting and dramatic, and opening the world up, pulling the curtain back. So even if it is just an isolated scene, that's a brilliant way to handle that.
No, I absolutely agree, and like you said, it was like some of the best writing. Like I absolutely agree. I think that largely there's a lot of scenes are pretty, specifically in the first one we talked about, it's a prologue. They're pretty lengthy scenes, but the dialogue kind of just felt like people just saying what was on their mind kind of verbatim, and I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing, but whenever a scene is kind of like that, it was kind of frustrating me. And then when the second episode opens with like a Good Morning America interview, I was like, like just media expository, like exposition is a pretty, I think it's like the radio playing just the right song at just the right moment. It's like, it's a pretty effective way of just like getting like just going through exposition of like, who's John Walker? Well, he will tell you on Good Morning America who he is. Like, that's cool and all. But then I felt like a lot of other scenes, people would talk like they were on Good Morning America, but they weren't on Good Morning America.
Oh, interesting. Well, that's even, I didn't have that, but that's even more interesting than, or better than the usual media device, because it isn't just somebody sitting down watching the TV and seeing that interview. We're introduced to him personally as a new protagonist in a scene, kind of. I'm not saying that he's a protagonist of the show, but we're like, he's our eyes in character for an entire scene before he goes on there. And then you're right, that does give us that exposition. It's also unreliable narrator, because he's talking to a media talking head on TV and saying what the diplomatic versions of whatever the actual reality was. I like the way he dodges stuff. It's like, did you know Steve Rogers? He doesn't come out and say no. He says, here's all the reasons it doesn't matter that I did. Like that's all. It's decent writing, because that's the way people feel like they have to talk on TV in order to put their best face forward.
And I think it's a good way of displaying John Walker the person versus John Walker the personality. Like, how nervous he is underneath it, even though he is putting on a bit of a show. So I like that quite a bit.
Tom wants to know if we're going to review every episode or just the overview. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. With these shows, I'm going to do an initial how we felt about on the first episode or two, and then a spoiler cast eventually on the rest of it. But thanks for the super chat, DGMC. I find it fascinating that the show was born out of Mackie and Stan's very entertaining press junkets. The characters' dynamic remind me of the actors. I think it is possible that they are taking that a tad too far. Because now that you've mentioned that, yeah, that is what they're doing, and now I'm not sure how I feel about it. Connor, I think you've maybe been latching onto that.
Oh, have I? Because I don't watch press junket interviews. I don't know anything about
I haven't seen a lot of them either, but I guess what I'm saying is, if that's where they're going in some of the writing, I think you might be latching on to, because you said earlier, their dynamic feels off and the characters don't necessarily feel enough like the same characters from before. Maybe that's why. Maybe it's too informed by real life stuff and by, the MCU has this problem in places. Some of it's in comedy, and I think it's largely in comedy, and some of this is comedic stuff. And I thought a lot of their banter was really funny. But man, I can see that complaint. I can see that criticism of we're too informed by the popularity of these characters and by the real life interviews and things. The MCU has had this problem.
Yeah, like the persona of the actor almost flanderizes the character to a certain degree.
Yeah, that combined with we tell stories differently when we know people care about these characters already.
Oh,
it's both of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, I think they might be taking that a tad too far. I just wanted to get a sense of why there seemed to be maybe some, some of that animosity between them, ahead of even you should have taken the shield, because that doesn't all come out of nowhere. Like, if you like fully respect a person and you're just mad at them about something, it plays differently than we are constantly in. We're in competition, and somebody mentioned earlier that scene that they had in Civil War, which I had forgotten about, where they're messing with each other in the car. Remember that, where he's like, put your seat up. No, I'm not going to put my seat up. So yes, they have had that before. There's not a lot of those scenes. Like if the whole thing is born out of that, I need more. I need to know where that's coming from. Maybe. I feel like like I said, I like that the animosity is coming from someplace on Winter Soldier's side, but I do feel like their constant necessity to be in competition, I'm not fully understanding. Especially because they're not both after the shield. Like there's not a prize at the end of that. At the end of that race, like
it is. You're not a Fast and Furious guy at all. You should watch 5, 6, and 7 because it's actually an okay trilogy. And James Wan directs number 7, which is the best one. Fight me, Fast 5 is not the best one. I'm sorry, I'm talking to the audience now. But Hobbs and Shaw was like a movie that was taking two of those characters and kind of pitting them against one another in a very similar way, where they're just trying to one up each other by showing off that they're just better at being a cool action guy or something.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of similar to what this is doing.
Yeah.
I think that when it comes to Falcon at home, I'm so on his sister's side. Like, he's all about this. Of course, legacy is another thing where it's like, Falcon's legacy with his family. He wants to carry that on, and that was a detail I forgot to mention.
No, that's a good point. In the parallel of that with Captain America's legacy, which he's trying to shove off, away from himself versus his own. Yeah, that's a good point.
But I think that when it comes to that, though, it's like, your sister has a point. She's been the one carrying on at home, and I think you say you guys half own the boat and whatnot, but I think she should maybe have a little bit more say, especially since you're probably just going to go off and do more superhero stuff. But then once Falcon gets into the suit, I'm more on his side when he's with Bucky, like going on adventures, but we only had like one little adventure so far. So
I was not sure how to read the whole thing with the sister. It played like in my mind like conflict kind of just for the sake of conflict. Like I kind of get her argument to a degree, and you're right if it was just about the superhero thing, but it's not fair because he was gone for 5 years, and that's not because he was a superhero. It's because it was an unfortunate luck of the draw. It seemed like he was coming up with potentially legitimate ways to solve a problem, and she was doing that really typical TV thing of, well, you weren't here and you don't understand how I feel, so don't even try to what if he's got a solution that might work, and she's like, well, I've tried everything, and I don't know, he was coming up with things that might have potentially solved the problem. Did she not go try to get that loan before? Like the loan thing I didn't get, because they talked about some loans that they've done already, but then there's this other kind of loan, and I don't know.
I think what I remember of that is that she's actually tried all the avenues, and he's saying, no, well, I'll do it. Me sort of being an Avenger and like a veteran and all that stuff, I'll be able to get us the money. And then he's going and doing it, and doing all the same things and failing. And she's like, Yeah, because that's the way it's been. Like, she's probably known maybe other veterans who have tried doing the same thing and failed.
Oh, you know what else? The MCU cannot decide how, and they're trying to figure out in this show finally, but it's weird. The MCU up to this point has not been able to decide whether or not Avengers get paid and how much.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And now it's like it's doing the kind of the classic, Justice League sort of thing, where it's like we're not in this for the money. And he says something about like people just giving a lot of donations and things and not keeping it afloat. And I'm like, really, Tony Stark couldn't just put you guys on payroll? Like, I don't understand that. And I mean, I guess that might make him too much of the boss or whatever. But we needed to know how that worked before now.
Yeah, and I think that might also make it like fall into like a like it's just like it's like a venture, like it's an Avengers venture where like Tony's like bankrolling it, so like it's almost like a company. He has like employees he needs to pay, and maybe that's tax deductible, and like all of a sudden like it's like a private enterprise that is now like going around like doing world stuff. I don't know. They haven't. You're right. I don't think Kevin Feige, the people have sat down and said, what's the political red tape here? Like what are we doing here?
Yeah,
you're right. And now is not the time to do it. It was a while ago.
No, we should have known that. Well, Civil War would have been the place to tackle some of that stuff. Although that was a movie with a lot of characters that had to juggle and stuff. Like, it'd be hard to do, but just what that movie's about. Mr. Roboto, what if he was Black Falcon? Well, that would have only happened if it was that way in the comics, and even then I don't think they would have done it because they've had because again they've had the Goliath thing, and they changed his name to just straight up Goliath. So I mean, I don't think it would have even made sense, even if that was the case, for him to have Black in his title. I don't feel like this character would go for that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were stuck with it, they probably just wouldn't. I would hope that they wouldn't draw too much attention to it, but then I liked that they drew attention to it. So maybe he would just be like, yeah, it's weird I'm calling myself that, but I always have, so I guess I'm still calling myself that. Or it would have or they would have made a plot point about him getting rid of the Black in his title, which would be weird.
Yeah, he probably would have.
I'm not sure how to answer that.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, what if it was Red Falcon?
Can we stop talking about Red Wing like it's a person?
Yeah.
Is that weird to anybody but me?
That was a little odd, yeah.
What was that line Winter Soldier had where I don't trust Red Wing? It's a robot. Like, okay, I get not trusting the government. But then
get hacked by a bunch of terrorists who organized online.
But then do you not trust Falcon because of that? There's no discussion about that. There's no commentary of like, I gotta tiptoe around Falcon because he works for the government. I don't trust the government. Like, if you have that line, you have to deal with I would think with the issues with them working together over the fact that he's a government agent and Bucky's not, right?
Yeah.
If not, I don't know where that line comes from. I don't know why he says that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it has to be because they thought it would be a funny line.
Well, I think you may be onto something. Big Bad Harv, $10 super chat. I noticed a parallel between Steve's list and Winter Soldier and Bucky's list here. Each list is a way for them to get back into the world in their own way, which I found very interesting. I didn't think of that. I wonder if that's intentional or not. Because, yeah, they're both listed. They're both things that they're doing after they come back, but one is about being acclimated to the culture, and the other one is about redemption. So I don't know, but you're right. It is a thing they're both doing. But you say to get back in the world in their own way, like Steve's is going to people and asking them what thing from the culture he should be looking at. That doesn't tell us anything about his personality. That's not in his own way. It's just a thing he's doing to get acclimated with people he trusts, right? Like,
yeah.
So I'm not saying there's not a parallel there. That is interesting, but I think you took it maybe a tad farther than it makes sense to. DGMC MCU Bucky reminds me so much of Jackman's Wolverine. Interesting. I could definitely see the character getting a Logan-esque solo film down the line as a farewell. I have not had that. Yeah, do you see any similarities really between like the performances or the characters?
That's not a parallel I thought to make. I'll have to think about that one and kind of file that in my brain.
Is it just in this?
Forward.
Oh, it's probably just the Weapon X thing, right?
Oh, sure, yeah. Those were things I didn't even think about. So, I'll probably have to think about that because before you even said that, I was like, yeah, my initial instinct is to say no, but I mean,
and they both been around a long time, and probably partly because, well, I don't know that Logan lives a long time because of Weapon X. I think that's just because of his initial power. But no, there are similarities between the characters, even the comics in the first place, that I'd never really thought about.
And yeah, maybe there's some amnesia. Well, okay, I guess it's when Bucky.
It's selective
is
when he's working. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I never thought to compare those characters, but no, I think there might be something there. Now that you're talking about it and I'm thinking about it.
Yeah, there is definitely something there. But when you say Jackman's Wolverine, I was immediately going to like the movies and the actual performances. Like clearly the characterizations are they're different. They're very different people and very different performances. But they're both loners in that way. And somebody said they're both stoic. I don't see those as stoic characters. I see them as both like really broody and moody before they're stoic.
Yeah.
Apollo Crews says something that I'm sure Connor will agree with. He says Logan is likable, Bucky is not.
Hey, he said it, not me.
All right. Well, folks, thanks a lot for watching. I think we're going to go ahead and bid you farewell here. And unless, Connor, you think of anything else that we need to tackle that we haven't yet.
Nah, I thank the live commenters for being civil with disagreeing with me, because I know that a lot of people like Bucky, and a lot of people seem to be enjoying the show. And
it's a
awesome.
first impression, man. Like, I think Winter Soldier is the best movie the MCU has made. It took me 2 to 3 years to come to that.
Well, I mean, I really like Winter Soldier a lot. And then I remember.
No, and I know you do, and I'm not. I don't mean to compare the movies. I'm just saying that, like, you may find yourself after this thing is over and watching through it again, having something of a different read on it, like different experience, or not. Maybe like I'm not telling you you should or you have to. I'm just saying that, like, it's a first impression, man. Like, you come back weeks later and feel totally differently about it, and it'll be interesting when we do the spoiler cast to see if you're in the same place.
Yeah, I after kind of where episode 2 leaves off, I have higher hopes with like the momentum and like kind of where they're taking the story. So
yeah, let's
see where it goes. I'm really happy you're digging it though, Cap. Especially since this is like the corner of the MCU I think you probably like the most.
It is. No, I'm pretty stoked, and I wasn't after the first episode, but I was after the second. You and some other folks though have made some really good points with some criticism that I hadn't thought of, and I'm hoping that now that I am more critical of some of the interpersonal stuff between the two protagonists, that they kind of even that out and iron it out as it goes along. Because and I was already like not sure of some of it, but I'm even more critical after this conversation. Somebody mentioned something real quick I wanted to tackle before we go. Mutali, do you agree about the big three? No, I don't. And I want to talk to you about that. I'm glad you brought that up. It's robots, it's aliens, and it's wizards. And the episode we're in brings up the genetic engineering thing, which is immediately baked into Captain America, that both of these people have had to deal with, and Falcon doesn't think of that as a fourth one. That's weird. Like, it's like everything we deal with works in these three categories, except Winter Soldier was an antagonist that you had to fight at one time.
Yeah.
And he wasn't any of those things. What are you talking? And then like they add it later where it's like, oh, well, then there's also Super Soldier. You guys are morons. He is a super soldier, and you fought him, and you didn't think of that? Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
What does Red Skull count as? Does he count as, like, a mad scientist? Like, is he a super... Well, I guess...
No, he fits in the genetic engineering thing. If you made... And they didn't say it this way. They said super soldier. And remember, Red Skull is a failed super soldier, so he would fit in that now fourth category. But... Would you agree that if it was the big four and you added in genetic engineering, you do then have it all pretty well covered? I don't know that there is a fifth category after that.
Yeah, I mean, if you count like Whiplash as like an android, because like he's made robotic stuff. Because like I guess I'll give him Ironmonger as like a robot because he built a big robot suit.
Sure, but that was a singular superhero fighting a bad guy. They're talking about Avenger level threats. He says whenever we fight something, we have to fight one of these four things. Yes, there's like there's terrorist groups and there's like one lone idiot with a gun, but they're talking about more like Avenger level threats, right?
Okay, yeah.
I'm saying you get two or more superheroes together. I think it fits in one of those four categories. But the fact that they bring that up as an idea in this show that is about a super soldier, and then they fight eight super soldiers in the same episode, that's ridiculous.
All you fodder, well, okay, not all you fodder super soldiers, but yeah, no,
that's very silly.
They fight super soldiers quite regularly. How do you feel about because I felt like them doing a whole cell of super soldiers almost felt like a carrying that idea from Civil War where there were multiple Winter Soldiers and Zemo was going to wake them all up.
I forgot about that.
Then he got rid of all of them.
Are we going to find out that Zemo is actually behind the whole thing going all the way back, but even he didn't know about it until now, where it's like somebody picked up his research maybe?
Maybe, but like he killed all the Winter Soldiers that were there. So, but maybe somebody took his secrets and made their own? I don't know. That one.
Remind me what that whole thing was. Yeah, was that Zemo trying to make super soldiers? I just forget now.
No. He wanted to get rid of all the.
Oh, that's what it was. Okay, so he wouldn't be behind the whole thing, but it might go back to some of the stuff that he was trying to get rid of. Then.
Yes.
I always forget exactly what the Zemo thing was because that resonated with a lot of people, and that was the one part of that movie that never sticks with me real well. Like I know Zemo for a lot of people is their favorite MCU villain. I haven't written about it yet. I need to do a rewind, and then maybe I will have that. Because I found myself liking the villain in Iron Man 3 and finding him a lot more interesting once I wrote about him. But I did not care about Killian until I did a rewind on it. So yeah.
Yeah, but that one Flag Smasher has not been unmasked. Like the big one with like the black hair.
Oh.
I wonder if that's the connection with Zemo. And maybe they're just like. Speaking of Killian, they're using like the redheaded girl as sort of like a Mandarin type fake face of their movement or something. So maybe.
They could be. I don't know. It's possible. Maybe she's mind controlled. Maybe she's like a Winter Soldier. Okay, so now that we're into predictions, and I know we were just about to finish up, but there was a thing that I alluded to earlier that I haven't gotten around to saying yet. I forgot all about, so I'm glad that we kept going. Connor, this is radical and will sound like the kind of like WandaVision guessing that people were doing, but and this is probably ridiculous and it is not what we're doing. But I just want to throw it out as a possibility. I don't mean to sound like the answer to everything is multiverse. But there is a thing that could be multiversal in this that I wanted to bring up and mention because we're getting closer to finally doing more multiversal stuff in the MCU and I wouldn't have thought of this if it weren't for the commentary that I did last week with DJ on Endgame. But a lot of people in that were making the assumption that Steve had actually when he goes back in time in that movie gone back to other split off realities, and apparently that was a thing that the writers and the directors could not agree on, was whether or not that had happened. And I kept wondering where the shield came from. And Blue Dragon 5 and some other people told me that it is clearly, because I didn't look that close at it, that it is clearly a different shield. So it's not that he, from like the 40s or something, or even later, like took his own shield. Because that was the thing I was always kind of wondering and worried about, where I was like, but if he took a shield out of the timeline, then Captain America doesn't have a shield. Somebody must have built it for him, or he took it out of some other timeline if he was able to do that for some reason. So then my question is, if we retroactively say that is what happened, to fix that big time travel question that people have with Endgame, retroactively, I think this show could maybe tell us that somehow. Steve's not going to be in this show, apparently, so I don't know. Somehow. is it possible that when he says the question again, that statement again at the end where of Endgame, where Sam says it feels like the shield belongs to someone else, and Captain America says, well, it doesn't. Is it possible it is literally Sam's shield? Like, he either got it from another time period from Sam, or had it built in our time period specifically for that character. Where it's like, I'm not passing a mantle, I'm giving it to you, and you can be Captain America or not, whatever, but it was never his shield. Because it is a different shield.
Yeah, and when he says, like, it feels like it's somebody else's, and he says it's not, like, maybe, I think that would totally fit. That'd be cool.
It's a question. I think it's possible. I think it's possible that is literal. Like it's not your shield means it is Sam's shield. He should never have gotten rid of it. It is his. Not a gift. Yeah. His.
That's awesome. That's what it. I think you might be onto something here, man. But you gave me an idea of what a good what if episode would be. What if Captain America didn't have a shield, and it opened up with Captain America showing up, grabbing a shield, dipping out, and then that universe's Captain America's like, what do I do now?
What you do with that is you make Captain America Thor.
Oh yeah.
So what you do is you have Odin send the hammer. This is probably a what if comic they did, and I just haven't read it. You have because this sounds real 70s to me. You send down the like Odin sends down the hammer, right? And Thor can't pick it up because he has to go through his big obligatory character arc before he can pick up the hammer, right? So he hasn't fought the Destroyer yet, and then Steve Rogers gets fought out early, and then he goes and picks up the hammer, and now he's Thor.
Hey, we did it. We figured it out.
There you go. Jay Asher, the directors have the last word. It is a new shield made for Falcon. I think they're gonna come out in the show and be like, Steve intentionally had this made for you. And then I'm gonna kind of cry foul and be like, he could have been more specific. You know, he could have said, no, I made this for you. I'm not sure why he wouldn't give him that information if that does end up being the case.
I think laying it on Sam, like, look, I just came from the future. You're Captain America. Here, like, maybe that takes away like his choice, or like maybe that, I don't know. They really wanted to do was have a Falcon and Winter Soldier show so that he could.
That's fair, but you have to assume when you give that to Falcon, and he's probably had a lot of years to consider how that conversation was going to go down. By the way, he's got to be thinking, if I hand him the Captain America shield, no matter what it looks like, he's gonna think of it as, I'm passing the torch, I'm passing on my mantle. And if what he really means is it's kind of passing the mantle, but what it really is I'm giving you something that belongs to you. There is a distinction. There is something of a distinction. It is still the mantle. There is something of a distinction between I made this for you and I'm giving you mine.
You're right. Yeah, that makes sense. Whew. Did we do it?
I think we did it. I think that's it. Well, folks, once again, thanks for watching. I know we went another 10 minutes after we were wrapping up, but I'm glad that I got to that prediction, because that was my big prediction. I don't really have anything else.
I'm glad we went an extra 10 minutes so that I can be watching for that, because I seriously, I would put money on that, honestly. That sounds,
I think it's going to happen.
Sure bet.
Well, everybody, thanks a lot for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you again in a few weeks for the spoiler cast on this movie. Connor is actually going to come back with me again if schedules line up okay on Tuesday for the Captain Logan show, because DJ is out of town and he's not going to be able to make it. So Connor's going to fill in, hopefully. And if not, I'll just be all by my lonesome answering questions. I'm going to, just so everybody knows, I've got a lot going on, as you might imagine, with family stuff right now. My wife and I just found out that we're having twins, and we're getting the house ready for that, and lots of other stuff, and also Easter is this weekend, so I'm going to go one more week without a rewind and then try to bring that show back the week after that. I just need more of a break. I'm going to put out some other content this week, so I'm not going to be fully off, but I'm not going to be doing as much as I usually do. So no rewind on Friday, but I will be putting out a brand new, I say brand new, it's from a few weeks ago we recorded it, but I'm going to be putting out a new commentary for X-Men Apocalypse that I did directly after I did the rewind for that, but I haven't posted it yet. So that'll be on Friday in place of Superhero Rewind, and then hopefully the week after that'll be back. So I look forward to that if you're so inclined to watch it.
We do have one more super chat.
Oh.
I've been it's Mr. Roboto, $2 super chat. Thank you, Mr. Roboto. He says, does this mean future Blue Falcon and Dino Mutt film?
I don't know if he means black when he says blue, or if Blue Falcon is a thing I don't know about. And
I think Blue Falcon and Dino Mutt is like a Hanna-Barbera thing.
Oh, okay. No, it does. It
Hey,
doesn't
look,
mean that.
they were already in Scoop, okay?
Oh, were they?
Yeah.
Oh. Mr. Roboto says twins, Cap. That's 4 children. No, it's 5. In fact, I have 3 kids already, and this will get us to 5. And somebody asked what gender the twins are. They're both girls. Thank goodness, because that was the whole reason we tried to get it. If I have to have twins, at least they're both girls, so that's exciting. Mutale, we're still getting Dark Phoenix commentary next week. Yes, we are, and that'll be hilarious because I'll have the Apocalypse commentary up on Friday, and then the following Tuesday we'll be doing a brand new commentary for Dark Phoenix on Marvel Mania. It will look so planned, and it isn't at all.
Isn't it funny how that always happens that way?
In the meantime, yeah, I know. It's crazy. I should just never tell anybody that. They would think that I really know what I'm doing. It'd be fantastic. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. We'll see you again soon. I was Captain Logan. This was Connor Nielsen.
Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, folks!